Kalala Yahweh Bashem Yawashai, Bashem Raka Kodash, the one of the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to the elect of the nation of Israel. I'm the brother Shapar from a James Jamaica camp. Now this lesson basically is gonna be based upon a video that I was scrolling on TikTok here and saw a MP in my area basically, from the opposition party lashing out against the Prime Minister and something that the Prime Minister said pertaining to the debt that Jamaica has. So I'm going to play the video here and then we get down into the lesson.
We would have had to pay for debt in the current fiscal year coming to a close. We don't have that stress on us anymore. It means our total debt is going down. And when your debt is going down, you have more money in your pocket to do things like what we are doing here.
The Prime Minister said we're paying down the debt. Is that really true, Jamaicans? And let me simplify this for you. In 2016, I did some research. Google, use some AI and do some research for myself. Jamaica's real debt in 2016, overall money we owe about foreign people and local people, we owe 2.2 trillion Jamaican dollars. This figure includes local debt, where we owe right as a Jamaica, the banks, and when they float bonds and people buy that, and we owe the multilaterals, the IMF, the World Bank. Yeah? Now, come 2024, because the financial year 2024 are close up now, right? So we have used 2024. Jamaica's real debt in 2024 is approximately 2.4 trillion. What was it in 2016? 2.2 trillion. What is it in 2024? 2.4 trillion. We've gone up $200 billion more we owe than when Dr. Andrew Holness became Prime Minister. All right? So, are we really paying down the debt? That's
The answer to that question is basically it's impossible. You know what I mean? It's an illusion that you can pay off, debt when we're under a system what you call fractional reserve banking. Vice kinda set up a way right now, so I'm so lucky about that. But the system is called fractional reserve banking, where money is printed based on debt. In order to pay the debt, the money in return have to be printed or to be bring into existence, by the way, in order to pay the debt. So it's a perpetual cycle of debt. You know what I mean? So the so-called white man being the devil that he is, create a monetary system that he can use to rob and plunder. Because that's what he basically create, this monetary system, the fiat currency system. That's what it was created for, to rob and to scam. Because the so-called white man is the biggest scammer on the planet, man. You know what I mean? And the scriptures speak about that. So we're gonna go into the scriptures here, dealing with what the so-called white man has done. May I bring out the first precept here. This is Micah 6:11. It says, "Shall I count them pure with the wicked balances and with the bag of deceitful weights?" So the scripture calling the monetary system, because back in the ancient time, that's what you used to carry your money, that one be silver, what you used to carry it in a bag, and it normally weigh a certain amount. Just like in Britain, you have them call actually money the pound sterling. It was actually representative of a pound of silver. You know what I mean? But anyway, so the Lord say, look, shall I count them pure with the wicked balances? That's how money used to be thing there, and with the bag of deceitful weights. So the money that you have now, the value of the money is not real. It's not even real money. You know what I mean? It's a fiat currency, it's a piece of paper where it not even worth the paper that it is printed on. is money worth, not even worth the money that is printed on. You know what I mean? Well, anyway, for the rich man thereof are full of violence. Because one of the way, even the US dollar, which is the world reserve currency, one of the way it remains the world reserve currency is because blood has to be shed in order for it to be where it is. That's the reason why you have the US military having campaigns all across the world. It's all about to protect the US dollar. And it's good, that's gonna be the excuse why they are going to war in this third world war. One of the excuses is to save the US, the dollar, the US economy. You know what I mean? That's one of the excuses. Yeah? That's why you see the BRICS nation and all them things, you know, popping up on all these things. It's all about the, you know, the fall of the US dollar. And if the US dollar should fall, all other fiat currency is going to fall just the same. You know, because all of them are a bag of deceitful weight. But that's what the so-called white man do. He said for the weak, so for the rich man thereof are full of violence, and the inhabitants thereof have spoken lies, and their tongue is deceitful in their mouths. Yeah? What you have as money now is deceit, man. It's not real. And they can say any minute that it has no value and you can't do nothing with it. You know, just like the Weimar Republic, you know what I mean, hyperinflation, you know, just like Venezuela, hyperinflation, you know, that them numbers you see on your note right now, it can mean absolutely nothing where you have to use a real barrow for go and get more money. But speaking about the Jamaican debt, as we said before, we are in a banking system that they call fractional reserve banking. You have to borrow money in order to pay the debt. That's what it is. So that's why the Jamaican debt keep climbing. The reason why we give the US dollar as an example, the United States themselves debt is also growing constantly. Hell, them have a thing we call the debt clock, man. Let me show you the debt clock here. It keep on going up. You know, it non-stop. There it is, man. This is live, the debt clock live. This is $36 trillion, man. You know, and it keep going up. This don't go back way. So the so-called prime minister is saying, you know, that is a bunch of hogwash, man. The debt can't reverse, man. Because Jamaica have to constantly borrow money in order to, you know, run the country. There is not enough money to run the country and pay the debt. Then continuously have to borrow money. So they can't, you know, reverse any debt or anything like that, man. You know, it's not possible. It's just lying. You know what I mean? But a lot of Jamaicans are ignorant. They feel like, you know, for some weird way or some miraculous way, they might get to pay off the so-called white man. That makes no sense, man. You know what I mean? We're not perpetual debt. Every single Jamaican citizen, even being born today, over 600,000 in debt. Because the whole population have to share the debt, man. Yeah? You actually owe debt for your bond here in Jamaica, man. To owe the so-called elites, man. More than say the regular white man or the multilaterals or whosoever get money from, it's coming down. The head of the stream is the elite. And they don't use fiat currency, man. They don't calculate their wealth in paper money. These men have assets, man. Real assets, man. And a lot of assets. Even Jamaica itself doesn't belong to Jamaicans, man. It's still the monarch, or what they want to call it. It's not even the monarch land, because the monarch are in debt to the Rothschild family, man. They are in debt to the Rothschild family, man. For money what them borrow from the Rothschilds to so-called emancipate or so-called abolish slavery. They are in debt. Yeah? And if they should default on the debt, you know, who actually by default, you should say, the Rothschilds own Jamaica and the citizens of Jamaica, man. So your freedom was so-called bought by the Rothschilds. So according to, in their mind, you belongs to them. Yeah, and you can go look it up, man. The British compensate the slave owners, man, for releasing the slaves. That's what it is. Let me get some more precept here. You know. Well, it's have some problem, but I'm gonna do this anyway. The work of go on. But anyway, this is Habakkuk 2:6. It says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, against the so-called white man, predominantly the elite. They say, and say, which dwelleth over there in America, by the way, and and he say, who, he say, Slovakia, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. Yeah, and as we said before, the wicked, them do them thing about violence, man. Look at what they did to Gaddafi, man, and putting Libya into debt right now, and taking Libya gold. Look what they did to Saddam Hussein. Violence, because the US dollar come under threat. That's what they did. Yeah. Let me continue here. It says, and to him that laid it himself with thick clay. You know what I mean? I want to look into the word here. Thick clay. Thick clay. You know, it comes from the Hebrew. I'm gonna jump down to. It comes from the Hebrew here. Let me play that word here.
Strong's H 5671. Avteet.
So are you going to the meaning here? It says weight of pledge, heavy debts. So the thick clay is debt. That's why I was showing you this, man. Yeah? The so-called white man have a system that they call fractional reserve banking, where basically money is created by debt. And that's the reason why the United States have a debt clock. This is a live counter. See, it's counting up. It's not going in reverse. You know, like how the Prime Minister of Jamaica would let her believe that the Jamaican debt is going in reverse. Not even the US debt is going into reverse, man. This is a thick clay that the scripture is talking about. Look at it. It's $36 trillion, man. That's what it is. You know what I mean? Let me get some more. And guess what? You're a bunch of slaves, man. If you were to own real money, you would have be a free man whose superscription is on the money. Yeah, it's a property of what? It's a property of the Jamaican government. It's a property, and the Jamaican government is a property of the British government, and vice versa, go up the line. Your money doesn't belong to you, man. Even when you put it in your bank book, it doesn't belong to you. So not if the money that is not real money doesn't belong to you. You see? That's how far it goes, man. Let me get that precept here. It says, the rich, this is Proverbs 22:17, it says, the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is a servant to the lender. We are slaves here, man. We are wage slaves. You know what I mean? We are working to pay debt that is perpetual. Because we need to use this money to do or whatsoever business we have to do. It's your money I have to go borrow, and then guess what? You are stand as surety for that debt, or you're gonna be a liability, collateral for that debt. Yes, the Jamaican people are collateral. That's the reason why they can tell you how much if every individual owe in the debt. Yeah, that's how it is. You think they go to the IMF when them go to the IMF? They have to bring some form of collateral, just like when you go to the bank to borrow money, you have to have some form of collateral. The Jamaican people, human resources are also collaterals. Yeah? Says the borrower is a servant to the lender. And you see, if things get sticky, watch and see how much is a servant when the austerity measures come in. Painful cuts. That's what the IMF have a thing we call a structural adjustment program. I can look up these things. Research these things, man. Structural adjustment program where they dictate to you, oh, you're gonna have to spend the money that they lend to you. You can't spend it no way you want to spend it. Them tell you how and what you're supposed to do, how much pay you're supposed to pay your workers, how much job cuts you need to have, how much wage freeze you need to have. Them tell you all these things, man. And tell you how to run the economy. That's what it is. We don't have a free economy. As the Prime Minister and whosoever would have wanted to believe. That's not how it is, man. I'm get more precept here. You know? This is wise words from the scriptures, man. This is Ecclesiasticus 21 and 8. He said, he that buildeth his house with other man's money is like one that gathered stones for the tomb of his burial. You know what I mean? Deep crap. You know, we are in as a people, and that's why we need the Lord, the Awashai, to come and physically, you know, redeem us, man. Because when we was redeemed by the shedding of his blood, but now he's going to physically redeem us, man, by taking us from the ones that have us captive and would not let us go, according to the scriptures, man. Just paraphrasing. He refused to let us go. That's what the scripture said. You know? And the money is used as an instrument to facilitate that bondage, man. That's what it is. You know, that's the truth about the situation. You know, I'm going to play that video here. I'm going to play a video at the end of this video here. You know what I mean? And I'm going to close off the lesson. You know what I mean? I'm going to play it here. And this is for fair use, man. You're not going to use it to make any money. You know, so we're not violating anybody copyright anything. Anyway, continue. Yeah, this is taken from the film Zeitgeist, you know, or the documentary.
A number of years ago, the Central Bank of the United States, the Federal Reserve, produced a document entitled Modern Money Mechanics. This publication detailed the institutionalized practice of money creation as utilized by the Federal Reserve and the web of global commercial banks it supports. On the opening page, the document states its objective. The purpose of this booklet is to describe the basic process of money creation in a fractional reserve banking system. It then proceeds to describe this fractional reserve process through various banking terminology, a translation of which goes something like this. The United States government decides it needs some money, so it calls up the Federal Reserve and requests, say, $10 billion. The Fed replies, saying, sure, we'll buy $10 billion in government bonds from you.
Lance, it's okay if you're uneducated, unemployed, or broke. But
So the government takes some pieces of paper, paints some official-looking designs on them, and calls them treasury bonds. Then it puts a value on these bonds to the sum of $10 billion and sends them over to the Fed. In turn, the people at the Fed draw up a bunch of impressive pieces of paper themselves, only this time calling them Federal Reserve notes, also designating a value of $10 billion to the set. The Fed then takes these notes and trades them for the bonds. Once this exchange is complete, the government then takes the $10 billion in Federal Reserve notes and deposits it into a bank account. And upon this deposit, the paper notes officially become legal tender money, adding $10 billion to the U.S. money supply. And there it is. $10 billion in new money has been created. Of course, this example is a generalization, for, in reality, this transaction would occur electronically, with no paper used at all. In fact, only 3% of the U.S. money supply exists in physical currency. The other 97% essentially exists in computers alone. Now, government bonds are, by design, instruments of debt. And when the Fed purchases these bonds, with money it essentially created out of thin air, the government is actually promising to pay back that money to the Fed. In other words, the money was created out of debt. This mind-numbing paradox of how money or value can be created out of debt or a liability will become more clear as we further this exercise. So the exchange has been made, and now $10 billion sits in a commercial bank account. Here's where it gets really interesting. For as based on the fractional reserve practice, that $10 billion deposit instantly becomes part of the bank's reserves, just as all deposits do. And regarding reserve requirements, as stated in modern money mechanics, a bank must maintain legally required reserves equal to a prescribed percentage of its deposits. It then quantifies this by stating, under current regulations, the reserve requirement against most transaction accounts is 10%. This means that with a $10 billion deposit, 10% or $1 billion is held as the required reserve, while the other $9 billion is considered an excessive reserve and can be used as the basis for new loans. Now, it is logical to assume that this $9 billion is literally coming out of the existing $10 billion deposit. However, this is actually not the case. What really happens is that the $9 billion is simply created out of thin air on top of the existing $10 billion deposit. This is how the money supply is expanded. As stated in modern money mechanics, of course they, the banks, do not really pay out loans from the money they receive as deposits. If they did this, no additional money would be created. What they do when they make loans is to accept promissory notes, loan contracts, in exchange for credits, money, to the borrower's transaction accounts. In other words, the $9 billion can be created out of nothing simply because there is a demand for such a loan and that there is a $10 billion deposit to satisfy the reserve requirements. Now, let's assume that somebody walks into this bank and borrows the newly available $9 billion. They will then most likely take that money and deposit it into their own bank account. The process then repeats, for that deposit becomes part of the bank's reserves. 10% is isolated, and in turn 90% of the $9 billion, or $8.1 billion, is now available as newly created money for more loans. And, of course, that 8.1 can be loaned out and redeposited, creating an additional 7.2 billion to 6.5 billion to 5.9 billion, etc. This deposit money creation loan cycle can technically go on to infinity. The average mathematical result is that about $90 billion can be created on top of the original 10 billion. In other words, for every deposit that ever occurs in the banking system, about 9 times that amount can be created out of thin air.
The little girl was locked in a car by her dad for a full 3 hours.
Alright, so that's basically so we have a Kalalali our Bashame Washai Bashamaka Kodash, the balance of the apostles and elders of great millstone. Peace and blessing to the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom.